The Chinese have a plan for the West, and they've been planning this plan out for quite a long time, and it's working together with Russia, and it involves gold. But they've been molding and shaping their plan alongside a plan that the West has had for an even longer period of time, and the deep state is what's involved in this plan that the West has. This plan is the plan to take out what they call the old order and to usher in what they call a new world order. This is the plan of the West. And in order to take out this old order, this is an old plan. I mean, it goes back hundreds of years. In order to take out the old order, what they needed to do is to bring down the old, what they call the old system, and to usher in what they call the new system being the new world order, or the new order. They want to usher in this new order, and they wanted to bring it in to coincide with the dawning of the age of Aquarius, or the New Age. And they're the ones behind all of these what's called New Age religions. All of them. All of these religions. And so this is a very old plan, very insidious, but it's a plan that was in the works, and they couldn't really, back when they started making these plans and they started bringing these things to fruition, they couldn't really see the results that would happen now. Things are not happening the way it was expected. This is what I truly believe, that things are not happening the way it was expected that they would happen. And so this is unintentional. What's happening is it's allowing an open door for China and Russia to take advantage of a situation that was created by ushering in these plans to usher in the new world order. They needed to take down what they call the old system, to usher in the new system, or new world. These plans are so old, there were certain ones who wrote about these things. They wrote books like, if you're familiar with a book by called The Brave New World. They made a movie about it called The Brave New World. The New World was the New Order. It's all part and parcel of the same thing. New World, New World Order, New System. It's all the same thing. I'm very familiar with these things, and the reason why is because I obtained information as a child about the incoming New World Order from a group called the New World Society in Action, or the New World Society, way back in the year 1967, 1968. You know, so this is a lot. These, like I say, these plans are very old. So anyway, at any rate, this is making an open door for the Chinese. And they've been scooping up all the gold, taking it to China, where they're smelting it into 1 kilogram bars. They've been actually quite literally buying the Queen's gold, which is, I believe, 400-ounce bars. They're quite big bars, you know, in ounces, and they got the stamps on them and everything, and they're the beautiful big Queen's bars from the Queen. They resmelt them down, and they refined them from 999 to, I think, 9999. So it means they have to melt them down, and they have to take a little bit more dross off. You know, the dross that comes off the gold, which is probably a metal that's like a half gold, half silver, half zinc, half nickel, copper, and a few other trace elements, and then they take that off, and when they re-smelt them, I gather, you know, and then they pour them off into 1 kilogram bars, and they ship them east to China, these new bars, and then they go into a Chinese vault, and they get numbered, and believe me, they're not coming back when they go to China. And this is where the power, he who has the gold makes the rules. China's getting all the gold. And so this whole thing's inevitable because they've designed it as a giant Ponzi scheme to take down the system. They knew when they started this game that it would eventually take the system down. But this whole thing about the Chinese taking advantage of this system collapse and enslaving the West was not planned, because when they started these plans, what was China back then? They had total control over China back then. They used to run the opium trade. You know, they had China right where they wanted her. Not like now. Not like China owning all the gold. That was just unthinkable back in those days. You know, China used to be it was more, things were more under their control. They could not conceive of what's happened in the meantime. They couldn't conceive of what's happened. And so because of what's happened now, there's a wholly new situation. A wholly new situation is developed where China is linked together with Russia now, and they're planning to become the new world empire on the back of ushering in this new system. What they've done is they've pulled the moorings out from underneath the West. The West is ready to collapse, and we cannot do anything but undergo this collapse because it's built into the cards at this point. And so China now is in a trade war against us. China is not our friends. China is, on the other hand, China is taking advantage of this situation, and of course the people in the West here would take advantage of the situation too if they were in China's shoes. They'd do the same thing, probably, most likely. So it's an open door. If a guy opens a door, you're going to walk through it. If he opens the door for you. And what they've done is they've opened the door for China to take over the world. And if China takes advantage of this opportunity, now China can become the new world empire. And all the power will swing to the east. So what will we do over here in the West when this happens? Because it's almost completed. It's a fraction, and we've been set up so that we can't do anything else but fall at this point. The moorings have been pulled out from under our financial society, of our finances over here in the West. And it's almost inevitable that we're going to collapse. All we can do now at this time to try to stave off the collapse is pile on more debt, which means that we're kicking the can down the road a little bit further so that we're going to collapse at some point in the future at this point. And China's waiting to take advantage of this, and so is Russia, and they're going to work together. And they're going to become the new world empire. So what are we to do here in the West? Well, I'm going to point it out, and I'm going to tell you what we're to do. We cannot stop the collapse from happening at this point. She's going to go. It's almost like guys who run out of their house, and they say, don't go back in there. The guy says, I made a big mistake. And they say, well, what did you do, Tom? And he says, well, I took the TP valve off of my hot water tank, and I replaced it with a cap. And I'm afraid, he said, I can't go in and turn the power off now, and the hot water tank is overheating and she's going to blow. And the guy says, oh, that is kind of a big mistake, you know. So we call the police in, and the guy says, yeah, you can call the police in, but don't let them go inside the house. So the police arrive, and they say, well, can we turn the power off to the house, you know? And no, you can't go inside to turn the power off. They say, well, we need to turn the power off to the whole neighborhood then, because it's going to blow up. And the guy says, yeah, but the other guy, the fireman, comes over and says, yeah, but if we go to try to turn the power off to the whole neighborhood, he says it'll blow before we can get the power turned, before we can get that order put through. And so they sit there and they wait. And they wait about 2 or 3 minutes, and all of a sudden she blows. They only have to wait 2 or 3 minutes. And boom! The hot water tank blows up. And half of the house goes with it. And they're glad nobody was in there. You know? And this is what we got here. The thing's building up pressure. Everybody can see it building up pressure. There's hundreds of people on YouTube that'll tell you, hey, she's going to blow. She's going to blow. Everybody knows it's going to blow. They just don't know when. They're amazed. Most of the people are amazed that it's held off this long, it's lasted this long. And it's kind of like if these guys were out there waiting for the water tank to blow. The firemen were all there, the police were all there, and everybody knew the situation. They're looking at their watches, and they know she's going to blow, but they're like, how long is this going to take? And the guy says, well, I'm going to go inside because it hasn't blown. And he says, no, you can't. And the police officer stopped him. You can't go in. She's going to blow. And finally, she does blow. And when it blows, they're all going to be hardly expecting it when it goes. Boom. It's because it happens so suddenly then when it finally goes. I'm going to tell you, kids often get caught by firecrackers this way. I'm straying a little bit off subject matter, but kids, you know, they light firecrackers and the fuse goes out and they think it's out and they think it's done. And they go over to get the firecracker and it explodes in their face. And that's happened many a time, you know. Just when you think it isn't going to happen, bang. Well, that's the way with this. Just when you think that this can never happen and you think that the situation is never going to happen, that's when she's going to blow. And she is getting almost ready to blow. The whole system's getting almost ready to come down. But it's been planned. They have executed this. I think at this point, in this stage in the game, maybe they don't want it to blow anymore because maybe they know that the Chinese are ready to take over and the Russians. This will give them all an open door. This is going to give them an open door to take over the world. So now getting back to what can we do about this? Well, I'll tell you what we can do. We have to just let her blow. Let the system collapse. Fully collapse. It's going to anyway. And there's nothing we can do about it except let it collapse. And when it's done, the Russians and the Chinese are going to put in their new Silk Road. And they're gonna start reaping the rewards of their hard-earned labor and all of their gold that they've stored away and all of the success that they've yielded themselves. They're going to start to reap the rewards of all of that, and they're going to become the richest countries on earth. And America is going to be slung into a state of poverty and third world state, and it's very sad to see this happen. And I'm going to tell you whose fault it is. It's the fault of the planners who wanted to usher in their new world order, and the deep state that had control. And the whole thing is just going to move the power over to Russia and China. So what we can do then is, after she falls, we have to be long-sighted. We can't be short-sighted. We got to think long-term, just like the Chinese have thought long-term in order to get this plan and to get to be the world empire. After they get to be the world empire, and the Russians are the world empire, then what we need to do is we need to start working hard. We need to get down to business. We need to start doing the same thing that they did for years and years, building new factories in China and building things and shipping it to America. We need to reverse the trade. We need to build the factories back in America and start supplying the rich people in China and the rich people in Russia that'll be able to afford the merchandise that we make for them. And when we do, and when we build these factories and we start shipping things over to them so that they can live the life of Riley and live in luxury, put their heels up and let the Americans do all the work, and for years it'll probably be that way to come, right? Slowly but surely the gold will start coming back over here because they'll start spending it. And we'll start putting away their treasury reserves. And we'll start using our new treasuries from them that they've paid for the merchandise that they've got off of us. We'll start using that to slowly start to accumulate our gold back again. And our cryptocurrencies. And our things that are worth something. Other than the US dollar that's going to be at that point be nothing but a memento that people keep to sell on eBay. They'll sell a $10,000 billion US note on eBay for like three units or credits or whatever it is, maybe 3 yuan or something. They'll sell it for. because the yuan might still be worth something. But the dollar by that time will be totally dead. And we'll have some sort of a new monetary unit that we're using that's connected to gold. And so it'll probably be directly connected to gold. And so then we can start accumulating the gold back and start the reverse the flow, and start bringing that gold back over here again. But we're only going to do it with a lot of hard labor at that point. And for years, we can sit down and we can do the research then and find out who caused it to happen this way. Why the West lost its dominance and who was responsible for it. And the children in school and our history lessons will learn who caused this to happen and how the West lost their edge. Now, it might sound to a lot of you guys like I'm giving up. I'm not giving up. It's just that we have been, what's the name for it when somebody undermines you and makes you fall? That's on your side, supposed to be on your side. They're supposed to be on your side. They're supposed to be making decisions to help you. What is the name for it when they actually undermine you in secret and make you fall so that somebody else then can take advantage of you? What's the name for that? Because that's what this is. And at this point, they've undermined us to the point where we're going to go down. She's going to blow. You know? And I am not, I am on our side. But the big but is, we are $20 trillion in debt at this point, and the debt's going straight up. And this is going to bring us down. And this is all by design. When they put the Federal Reserve in, they knew that every time that they borrowed a dollar, there was debt attached. And they knew that they were not ever going to create the money to repay that debt. They were only creating the money of the principal, not the money to repay the debt. And so if the debt's ever try to pay it off, you actually destroy the actual currency. And so you have to constantly keep ahead of this by creating more debt. And they knew at a certain point, this is called a Ponzi scheme, and they knew at a certain point it leads to an absolute collapse of the system. That collapse is what's going to give China and Russia their opening to come in and take over the entire world. But back when they first put this system in, they had this plan. They never expected, I don't think, that would be the end result. Or they probably wouldn't have done it. But now the door is open. So here it comes. And now we got to, as the West, we've got to sit back and we've got to say, well, what can we do to restore our power again? War is not the answer. War is not the answer, because at this point, at this stage in the game, a real war between West and East, not a little battle between. I'm not talking about a little battle between North Korea and America. I'm talking about a battle between China, Russia, and America, all three. A war like that would be the destruction of all. They call it mutual assured destruction. So that's impossible. Because if that were to happen, well, there's no sense even talking about it. We're all gone. But I don't believe that's going to happen. I believe what's going to happen is our financial system is going to collapse. They're going to build their new Silk Road and everything else that goes with it, all their new infrastructure and everything. And they're going to become the new people that you want to trade and do business with. But that means that they're going to be the ones reaping the reward of all that, which means all the money's going to be heading over there. And this means that the money is not going to be heading to where the money used to be, which was the West. It's already setting up this way. Big time, big time. The erosion of the petrodollar. And so, we've grown fat and happy. And they've been producing the products for us. This is all going to be reversed. Now they're going to grow fat and happy. And we're going to be producing the products for them. But this is how we get it back. This is how we get the power back. This is how we get to be number one again. Is by servicing them. That's the only way. It's gonna go that way. And in the next 10, 15 years. But that's going to bring industry back to America. It's going to bring jobs back to America. And the Chinese are going to be buying the products that we produce. Everything. This is Bizarro world, like in Superman. You know, remember Bizarro? This is Bizarro world, and everything is going back into reverse now. What went one way now is going to come back and go in the opposite direction after this collapse is over. Because they are going to be putting in the factories and everything else and everything that they need to create this infrastructure in China, the new Silk Road project and everything, so that they can draw in everything right from Germany. By the way, Germany's in on the deal. You know? So, you don't have to learn how to speak Chinese. You can just learn how to speak German. Because they're in on all the deal. They're already in on it. Germany's all signed in, ready to go. The railways are going to be running right through Germany, heading to China. The whole thing is all a package deal. You know, it's all the T's and I's and everything. The I's are being dotted and the T's are being crossed. And the West, we've been royally had. And everything is going to go east for a while. But now what I'm talking about is how we can actually bring all this back. Bring it back home again. That's what we need to do. We need to bring it back home again. We got to forget now about how it got to the east. That's done. We sold our gold. We left a bunch of criminals in charge of our gold, and they sold it, and they had the heart-shaped swimming pools. You know, they would come home from work, doing their criminal activities all day for the Western banking cartel. And come home, oh, honey, guess what I did today? He says, I dropped the price of silver 50 cents today. And I made $800,000 as my share, you know. Did those Mexicans get done putting in that swimming pool yet? I'm going to go out and check. He waltzes out to the backyard, you know that, and he says, no. And the Mexicans are all there sweating. They've been there all day long, you know, working on this swimming pool, digging in the hot sun, you know, and they're so proud of what they did. They filled it all up and everything, you know, all this shiny new water and everything in there. And he walks around and he took some look at it. That's not the pool I wanted. I wanted a pool that's shaped like a violin, not a heart. Rip it out. Put the one in I want. He says, but senor, the pool, we worked overtime. We need to be paid. He says, I'll pay you for it. What is it? 40,000? That's peanuts. Don't worry about it. I'll pay you for it, and I'll pay for the new one. You guys be here tomorrow morning, and you'll have another $40,000, but I want the one that's shaped like a violin. Tear that heart one out. I want it out there tonight. He goes in, kisses his wife. She's got the people that work in the house, you know, the maids and everything have cooked him a nice steak and everything. And it's on the table, you know. He walks over, he takes one bite of the steak, puts it in his mouth. Yeah, it tastes pretty damn good. Walks out the door, you know. Drives his Ferrari or his Maserati or whatever he's got. Or Lamborghini, or maybe it's a Rolls Royce, or whatever he's got. He drives it into town, into the city there, you know, New York or whatever, and goes and gets himself an expensive hooker, you know, and gives her $100,000 tip that evening because she did a good job. or multiple good jobs or whatever, you know. This is where our money's been going. The criminal cartel has been sucking our. Meanwhile, they're making it so it's harder and harder for us to make a living. It's been getting harder and harder and harder. And all you guys out there, you're rushing around as fast as you can. Why you're rushing is because you want to make what you used to make 20 years ago. Now you got your wife working, you got your kids working, you're working, you got 2 jobs, you're constantly working, and you're falling behind. And you can't figure out why. Why are we falling behind? We're working like we never worked before. Used to be we were able to put money away. And they only had one person in the house working. And they were only working 40 hours a week, and they only had one job, and you could put money away every week, and you could afford that new car. Now you got 2 jobs, your wife works 2, your dog works now, for crying out loud, and you can't afford nothing. You're eating beans at night. That's to pay for this other guy over there, right? That's paying the hooker a $100,000 tip. You're paying for him. He's into the money pool. It's criminal. It's a criminal racket that's running this whole thing. And they're going to bring it down on you, too. And when they bring it down on you, you think it's bad now. You ain't seen nothing yet. And the thing is we're letting them all get away with all this. Not one of them has went to jail. You know? Not one of them. And there's so much money behind these guys, it's unbelievable. It's unreal. Not one of them's went to jail yet. That's amazing. And they're still pulling their rackets. They're still manipulating the markets. They're manipulating the markets so that they can bring this giant cascading crash that's going to send everybody in the Western world into poverty, and it's going to allow the East to become the new world empire, where they're going to have all the money, and Germany's in on all this. They're in on it all, and they're going to be reaping the rewards. You know, the railways run right through Germany. They come up and they run right through Moscow, and then they turn around, and then they're going to have it go down through the edge of Romania, down through Turkey. That's one route, and then they're going to have another route up. Well, I did a whole show on it. Just go back and take a look at the show I did on it. So the Chinese, they're not our friends. They're going to send us into poverty. I should start saying they're not our friends. They're going to become our boss. Or better yet, they're going to become our masters. And we're going to be the slaves. And this is all by arrangement. Thank the New World Order and the New World Order guys for sending you and making you the slave to China and Russia. And making them fat, rich, and happy. But trust me, guys, we can get this back. It's going to take us a few years after the crash. But we can get this back. It's going to take a lot of hard work, but we can get this back. Without any global wars or anything like that, we can get this back. But we got to be smart like the Chinese are smart. They have taken advantage of the situation, and they've used their noggins. They've used their head to get the better of all of us. And now they're in the driver's seat. They've got all the gold. Now what about those guys who took the gold and give it to them? They practically give it to them. Gold was touching like $19 an ounce. I mean $1,900 an ounce, sorry. $1,900 an ounce it was nearly touching. And these guys, I think of something like 1,400 tons of the Queen's gold. They rehypothecated it. They leased it out into the market. And the gold price just was shattered. It just fell like a stone. 1,900, 1,800, 1,700, 1,600, 1,500. It just fell like a stone. And I remember they were selling so many of those big bars. They were the Queen's bars. They're selling so many of them. I saw them on APMEX and on Kitco for a while there, when the price was dropping like a stone. They were just hoarding them. And guess where they were going? You got it. There goes our wealth. And there goes the Chinese becoming wealthy. And it's all down to the guys who were in charge, who were put in charge. I mean, take a look at the Queen now. She's like very, very old. She doesn't know what they're doing with that gold. That's what I think. I think that she doesn't realize the ramifications of what they're up to. If she does know, they've told her a big story about how they're going to get it back and everything, and how it's perfectly standard procedure, and we're just leasing it out, and we're going to buy it back off the market at probably a cheaper price than we leased it out for, and all this kind of baloney. They fed her a whole big line of baloney that they have her believing, so that they can continue to lease it out. Whatever's left, they're still up to this business. They're still pulling this criminal crooked racket. And then they are the ones that reap the reward. They get the money. As they sell this gold off, the money goes back to them. They're a bunch of crooks. They're the worst criminals that ever existed. This is worse than what happened out west when they would have the guy sitting up on the rock waiting for the stagecoach. These are the guys that we got in charge of our government. They're worse than stagecoach robbers. You know? Anyway, that's what's going on. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next article. Bye.